I think a lot of us have been really surprised at how much you can achieve with generative models, with large language models. And I think it shortened the estimate of what a lot of people think how long it will take for us to really have artificial general intelligence at human level.
Welcome to the Agile Digital Transformation Podcast, where we explore different aspects of digital transformation and digital experience with your host, Tim Butera, Content and Community Manager at AgileDrop.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Our guest today is Peter Voss, CEO and Chief Scientist of the advanced chatbot platform Aigo. Peter is one of the people who coined the term AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, over 20 years ago. And AGI is also exactly what we'll be talking about today, supported by recent research from Microsoft experts published in late March about GPT-4 actually showing signs of artificial general intelligence. Peter, welcome to the show. I'm excited, very excited to have you here to discuss this with you. But first, do you want to add anything to the intro?
No, I think that's fine. I think we can jump into the topic. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, awesome. And obviously, the first thing that I want to ask you about is what I just mentioned in the intro, that you were on the team that coined the term artificial general intelligence. Can you tell us more about this and what AGI even refers to?
Yes, certainly. So I fell in love with programming, a long time ago, and started my own software company, and that was very successful. We had did an IPO. When I exited the company, it occurred to me, what do I want to do now? What big problem do I want to tackle? That's going to be interesting and challenging. And it really occurred to me that software is not intelligent. It's quite dumb by itself. It's if the programmer didn't think of something, then you'll just get an error message, or it'll crash, or do something not intelligent. And so I really want to figure out how we can build intelligent machines, how we can build machines that can learn, think, and reason the way humans do. And I actually took 5 years to study all different aspects of intelligence, starting from epistemology, theory of knowledge. How do we know anything? What is reality? What is our relationship to reality? And how can we know it? And how certain can we be? How do animals learn? How do children learn? What do IQ tests actually measure? And all different aspects of intelligence. And of course, I studied what had already been done in the field of AI. And what I saw, what became very obvious, is that the field of AI had really drifted very significantly from its original intent. When the original term AI was coined some 60 odd years ago, it was really about building machines that can think and learn and reason the way humans do. Now, they thought they could do this in a few years, but of course, it turned out to be a really, really hard problem. So what happened over the decades, AI has actually morphed into narrow AI. Without, when people talk about AI over the last few decades, it's really been narrow AI to solve one particular problem at a time. And it's really the human ingenuity, it's the human intelligence that is turned into code to solve the problem. So the intelligence doesn't really reside in the machine as much as it does in the programmer or the data scientist. So a perfect example of that is Deep Blue from IBM, world chess champion, and was ingenuity of the people designing the program, together obviously with the brute force hardware advances, at that time, that allowed the system to become world chess champion. But it couldn't even play checkers. So, it didn't really learn to play chess. Even if you go to something more recent like AlphaGo, it's the brute force, it's again the ingenuity of engineers to come up with a particular neural network that could self-train itself by, zillions of games of chess to become good at playing Go and using certain software tricks. But it's really, again, the ingenuity of the engineers and data scientists to do that. So anyway, it became clear that what we really are in the era of narrow AI. And in 2002, I got together with a few other people who felt like I did, that time was ripe for us to go back to the original dream, the original vision of AI, to build thinking machines. And so three of us actually coined the term, Shane Legg, Ben Goertzel, and myself. We decided to write a book on the topic. And we thought about how do we describe that? How do we differentiate ourselves from the main field of AI? So general intelligence seemed really appropriate to me because G is also, the little g is a symbol for general intelligence in IQ tests or in psychology. So I think it was a good term to come up with, and as it turned out, it really caught on, and now you see it everywhere. So artificial general intelligence, in short, is to have machines that can think and learn and reason the way humans do. Now, not limited to that, but the important thing is that it can, by interacting with the world or people, the world in general, whether it's robotics or through just text or speech or whatever way they interact, that they can actually learn new tasks and they can reason about them and basically do planning, have imagination to try different things, to come up with novel solutions to novel problems the way humans can.
A lot of this is exactly what has been observed by the researchers in the paper that I mentioned in the intro, right? Basically, we've seen in the past few months this surge of generative AI, as pretty much everybody listening will have encountered it by now, and probably the large majority of people listening will also have already used it by now. And GPT-4 is the most recent publicly available version as of recording this, and it's disrupting pretty much everything. And yeah, as I said, the paper from Microsoft researchers about sparks of artificial general intelligence in GPT-4. So what do you think about this? We've talked about it. You've read the paper even before we decided to discuss this. What are your thoughts here?
Right. I mean, there are definitely sparks of general intelligence in GPT-4. These generative models with massive data sets, massive training sets, are really quite phenomenal. And I think very few people expected them to be as powerful as they are. To be able to do just such a wide range of different things and to actually do something that looks very much like reasoning. And so it definitely is a major advance. Now, the question that AI researchers are asking themselves, is this the real thing? Is this actually AGI, or is it, proto AGI? Do we just need more training data or to get there? And I think most people agree that it's not enough, that as impressive as the statistical systems are, Daniel Kahneman has this, system 1 and system 2, which is roughly subconscious thinking and conscious thought, just very roughly as a division. And ChatGPT or generative models, large language models, really are system 1. They don't have metacognition. They don't think about thinking. They don't have access to the actual thought process. And this is why they're also so unreliable. They can confabulate and make up stuff, which, is kind of a strength, but because it's purely a statistical system, it doesn't have grounding. It's just whatever the training set patterns, these very abstract, multi-level patterns, abstract patterns, will come up with. And, as everybody knows, it can, come up with scientific reports and give you citations that are completely fabricated. And it wouldn't really know because it doesn't have access to ground truth. So I think there's actually a fairly long laundry list of shortcomings that I think are a strong indication that the current architecture is not enough. And I can certainly talk more about what architecture I think is the right thing. But I think there's a general consensus that, or at least a lot of AI researchers believe that something more fundamentally different is needed in addition to what we have on large language models.
I love the term that you used, proto AGI, and I think that this is kind of an unavoidable step, right? Mm-hmm. It would be hard to get to just immediately get a high level of artificial general intelligence that we could really say, oh yeah, this is it. This is more than just proto AGI. This is AGI version 1.x, for example. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's, to me personally, it's surprising that in such a short time after we saw ChatGPT go public, we're already discussing this. And even though hopefully you've calmed the nerves of somebody listening right now who's maybe worried about the imminent threat of AGI or something like that, it's still, it's fascinating that we're able to discuss it right now as viable possibility, not just as something really far, far ahead in the future.
Yes, certainly. We certainly can also talk about the risks in that, but it's totally implausible. In fact, it's impossible for an AGI to sort of overnight or very, very quickly become that smart that it can outfox basically all defenses and everybody. I mean, this is just from Hollywood movies. It's not realistic. Anybody who's worked in software for any length of time knows that there are a million ways of things going wrong versus going right. I mean, there are so many if you try to do something complex, there are just so many ways in which it can go wrong and go off the rails and fail, and not fail in a sort of human catastrophic way. It just won't work the way you expect it to work. So yes, we are going to see an evolution of that, but I do believe it will take a different architectural approach to actually get to AGI.
So based on all this, what do you think about the recent call to halt the development of GPT for 6 months?
Yeah, I think it's ill-advised, and it's hard to know what the motivations are of different people, and I'm sure they're different motivations for different people. I think there's some people who've really bought into, like Eliezer Yudkowsky, this is this is going to kill us all, and we've got to stop it, or at least we've got to pause it. So I'm sure there are some people who've just bought into that for whatever reason is. I'm sure a very big motivation is competitive advantage there. I mean, anybody who isn't OpenAI or Microsoft is obviously behind the curve now. DeepMind and Google and whoever else wants to play in this field is obviously behind. So by having a moratorium, they could catch up, or they could believe that they could catch up. Then I think there's sort of the moral high ground that a lot of people might just sign onto it because it's like they think it's the sensible thing to do, or the moral thing to do. We obviously have Luddites who inherently are anti-technology, that would sign on. So I think it's probably a combination. It's kind of interesting. Gary Marcus has been very vocal on this. Initially seemed to sort of say, well, this is really, really dangerous. We need to stop it because it's so dangerous. But then he kind of refined his comments to saying, well, the real danger is misinformation. Okay, we've had misinformation in mass for many, many years. I mean, government misinformation for one. The government has across the world have been very good at propaganda, and pretty much any country. I mean, some countries are worse than others. So, and we don't have good defenses against government propaganda. And then, of course, you have large enterprises, who spend billions in advertising, and obviously a lot of that is misinformation. I mean, look at pharmaceuticals, for example. I mean, it's really terrible of what pharmaceutical companies advertise in America of stuff that really doesn't work and is harmful, but they're pushing pills on people. So I don't really see that that's so different. We've had Photoshop for how long? So, people can adjust to that misinformation. And I think, if anything, it would encourage tools to be developed to help you tell truth from, tell the truth. That hopefully more organizations or more apps or whatever would come up to fact check things. And, whatever one thinks of Twitter, and obviously my Twitter feed only has like certain types of things that are fed to me. So it's difficult for me to know what other people see. But I think like the community notes on Twitter, I find them really, really good. If we had more of that, and not government fact checkers, who have their own agenda, but community. Now, obviously, you need to get into the right community so that the fact checking itself doesn't get distorted again. There's also the argument of, all right, we giving China and whatever other players that we may not be as comfortable with, we're giving them extra time to catch up as well. And finally, the moratorium like that really doesn't work for software. I mean, how are you going to check that? You're going to have maybe the bigger teams can be monitored in some way, but it's so easy these days to download one of these models or to build your own model. I mean, we're already seeing the papers coming out where people are generating GPT 3.5 with 100 times less processing power, but equivalent performance, and that's going to continue. So yeah, really across all the reasons, it doesn't make sense to me.
That was such a fantastic answer, and it really reflects a lot of my own opinions about this as well. And I think there's too much. Your answer was too extensive to unpack everything here. I think we would need like 3 additional specific episodes to unpack everything. But one of the key themes that kind of struck out to me here is, if it's so dangerous, if misinformation can be such an important risk of this, what good will pausing it for only 6 months do? Right? That's the first thing that I thought about. If it's so dangerous, if you believe that it's so dangerous, then why are you advocating for a 6 months ban? That's kind of paradoxical to me.
Yes, in fact, I think there's a good point here, and that is, one of the terms that people throw around is alignment. And, again, it's a big topic that, we haven't solved the alignment problem. Now, to me, I think it's a non-problem, but let me go down that path right now. Even assuming there is an alignment problem, 6 months isn't going to solve the alignment problem. People have had hundreds of millions of dollars. The AI safety community has had an enormous influx of money over the last few years, but they've been going for 20 years. And they've made zero progress really on alignment problem in AI safety. I have an opinion on why that is as well, but and Eliezer Yudkowsky has admitted, basically, it's generally admitted that they have made basically no progress over 20 years on solving the alignment problem. So, spending another 6 months on it isn't likely to produce any better results.
Yeah, that's another very important point here. It makes very, very little sense because, this thing is out of the box now, and yeah, it's gonna be doing what it's gonna be doing and what people are going to be doing with it.
Yeah, and of course, the other thing that is often ignored and forgotten, every decision like that has a cost benefit. And they by pausing it, you are losing the benefit of AI. I mean, clearly, the reason people are developing AI or AGI and these models is to bring benefit to humanity. That these are tools that can help us be more productive, and ultimately they can help us solve the big problems that we are facing. Whether it's disease or pollution or governance or energy or whatever it might be, these AIs will help us. So by pausing it, you are losing out the benefit. And another point is, whatever rules are put into place, as we well know, putting rules into place, putting new laws or whatever controls you have, always have unintended side effects that are often very negative.
So do you think that humanity is ready for artificial general intelligence?
Well, ready or not, here we come. I think we need to adjust. Now, I also have the perspective that there are so many problems facing humanity in terms of how we manage civilization, how we manage the modern life, basically. And I think it's almost that we I think there's a good argument to be made that we need AGI to save ourselves from ourselves, or to save us from ourselves. That without more intelligence, I mean, let's not forget, it's artificial general intelligence. It's intelligence that if you believe that being smarter about things, bringing more intelligence to the world is more likely to solve problems, which I do believe, then we want AGI. We may well need AGI to help us manage the complexities of civilization.
I think there's kind of a double-edged sword aspect here as well, right? One is what you just mentioned and highlighted, and the other, I would say, is because where society is in such a state where it's kind of deteriorating, then the risks of something like AGI getting misused can become even greater, in my opinion, because so it's kind of like we would need AGI to help us solve these problems, but it would be much more effective if we solved these problems and then used AGI.
Well, no, I think we need AGI, and my view is it's actually going to be a lot harder to abuse AGI. And the reason I say that is, at the moment, all of our experience is with narrow AI.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to imagine that you could have a very powerful AI that could say, break into the defenses of your enemy, using AI, and do something, shut down the industry or something like that. But the AGI is general intelligence, which should help us think things through. And the analogy I give is, if humans make bad decisions. Now, bad decisions, it's kind of another way of saying immoral, things that you would rather not have done that are not good. Why do humans make bad decisions? And there are obviously a host of reasons, but generally there are three categories, and I can point to 9/11 as an example, because it obviously had a lot of consequences. So the three reasons are typically that people tend to react emotionally, kind of just the way we are designed as humans. So the first reaction of Americans was, we've got to hit back at somebody.
Mm-hmm.
This is terrible what they did to us, whoever they are, and we've got to hit back at somewhere. That's kind of the emotional response. The second thing is lack of good information. That's the sort of weapons of mass destruction that were there. There was bad information. And the third thing is that humans aren't really very good at logical reasoning. It's an afterthought, an evolutionary afterthought. Our brains, developed from instinctive and automatic reactions. And then we sort of, evolution got this logical thinking part added to the brain, but it's not that great. Humans aren't really that good at logical thinking. So having AI assistance, if everybody had an AI assistant, it could mitigate these things that humans do that we tend to regret. Just acting on our emotions without thinking, having better information to make a decision, and being better at thinking through, is it really going to serve your purpose to invade Iraq, or Afghanistan or whatever? Is that going to ultimately achieve the objective you want to achieve? And you'd probably come up with, if logical thinking and better information was in play, probably better decisions would have been made. So, I use that as an illustration where I really believe that better intelligence, better thinking makes for better decisions and more moral decisions.
But the key thing is probably intelligence, right? As we talked in the beginning, you have a lot of these AI technologies that aren't actually intelligent. I'm guessing that actual artificial intelligence would be needed to have this benefit that you're describing.
Yes. A lot of the risks or the downsides of AI right now is the lack of intelligence, that they aren't smart enough. I mean, look at self-driving cars. I actually have a Tesla. I love it. But the full self-driving, still lacks intelligence. It comes across things that weren't in the training set, and it really doesn't know what to do because it's not smart enough. So if it was smarter, it would be better doing the job.
So it's basically the more intelligent a system is, the less likely it is to be negatively influenced by the decisions of the people who created it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Peter, this has been such an awesome discussion, and I have a final great and kind of big picture question for you, and we kind of already covered it, but to kind of cover it here succinctly, what do you think the future holds for artificial intelligence and its connection with humanity? What are the key implications, both short term and long term?
So I think a lot of us have been really surprised at how much you can achieve with generative models, with large language models. And I think it's shortened the estimate of what a lot of people think how long it will take for us to really have artificial general intelligence at human level. I think there's really a very good chance that it will happen in less than 10 years. In fact, I would probably have a shorter time frame on that. If once people get onto the right approach to overcome the core limitations, the inherent limitations that you have in large language models. Now, in terms of what it means for humanity, there's going to be a lot of change. And I think people will have one of the biggest sort of industries is going to be to help people cope with the change. To either decide, I really don't want to be at the cutting edge of this. So at what level am I comfortable in terms of moving from what I'm doing now to the brave new world? But it'll be optional. That people talk about, almost everybody says, I'd love to win the lottery, that I wouldn't have to work anymore. Well, AGI ultimately is going to be like everybody in the world winning the lottery. Now that they won't have to work. Now a lot of lottery winners end up being pretty unhappy. So that is something, if work is really a big part of who you are, your personality, your self-esteem, and so on, and suddenly you don't have to work anymore. I see that as kind of the big industry in the longer term, as this radical abundance becomes available through AGI.
Man, these were some awesome insights, Peter. Like this is exactly a reflection of my thoughts about this double-edged sword of. I love the phrase that you used right there at the end, radical abundance. Man, I'm probably gonna start using this more often in personal conversations as well. But
yeah, there's a I forget who the author is right now, but I believe there's actually a book, Radical Abundance, which is very, very good.
I need to check that out. Peter, as I said, thank you so much for joining us today. This was fantastic. Before we wrap it up, if listeners would like to reach out to you, connect with you, learn more about you, or learn more about Aigo, where can they do all that?
Yes, so my company is aigo.ai, aigo.ai, and we basically do a chatbot with a brain. So, if you want a chatbot that actually remembers what you said earlier in the conversation and can think and reason, and we target currently enterprise applications, but ultimately we want to make our chatbot or personal assistant available to, everyone, 7 billion people in the world. That's the idea, so that we have this little angel on our shoulder that can be our assistant and help us navigate life and make good decisions. I also have a lot of articles on medium.com. So Peter Voss, medium.com, you can find them about free will and rationality and ethics, and of course a lot about AI.
We'll make sure to include all of these in the show notes, as well as a link to the research paper on GPT-4 and AGI that we talked about, and an excellent YouTube video which provides a great overview of the main points of the paper for those who probably don't have the time to mull over the what is it? I think it's like 150 pages or something like that. Peter, I guess we'll have to meet again quite soon to discuss how things are evolving in this sphere. Thanks again. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, great. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
And well, to our listeners, that's all for this episode. Have a great day, everyone, and stay safe.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to check out our other episodes, you can find all of them at agiledrop.com/podcast, as well as on all the most popular podcasting platforms. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes, and don't forget to share the podcast with your friends and colleagues.